So today we're going to be making a little stop motion set. Now you don't need to use sets for your stop motion, especially if you're a beginner. You can just move your puppets about in reality, so you can move them around the floor, you can have them hopping along on the bookcase or on your desk or wherever really. But what we're going to be looking at today is making a set so they're actually living in that little reality. So try and give you an example. Obviously Wallace and Gromit, they are miniatures but they're living within their own little world. So I want to say it's reality, it's their reality. That I don't want them to look like they're living within my world, like a sort of borrower situation. It's a self-contained set, they're the little actors and this is their little home, like a doll's house or something. So that's what we're going to do today. Hopefully that made some degree of sense. Now there are different things you can make your sets out of. I'm going to start with cardboard with this one because cardboard is a very easily and accessible material. It's very cheap, and also especially when you're a beginner and you don't really know what you're doing. I often don't know what I'm doing. It's quite a good one to play with because you're not really wasting a lot of money. So let's get out my cardboard box and let's get started. So I've got a nice big box that I got in the post. You are going to need quite a big box. There's no point trying to do this with something more like a cereal box unless you've got really tiny figures. So yeah, also more polystyrene. It's 2025. Can people please stop with the polystyrene? So yeah, I'm going to probably try and think of something else to do with polystyrene again. Put that in the pile with the rest of the polystyrene and let's get chopping this box up and see what we can do. So yeah, another good thing about this box, as well as it being quite a big box, is it's quite thick, sturdy cardboard. You do need something with quite a thick cardboard. If you use thin cardboard, it's just going to be too flimsy and you're going to have a nightmare trying to animate with it. So do try and find something quite sturdy. Now we just need to cut it up. Now obviously you want to be careful. You don't want to chop off too much cardboard. You can always chop more cardboard off, but it's going to be difficult to try and stick any more to it without it looking a bit rubbish. So I think it should be okay. We might need to chop more off, but like I say, it's better than trying to stick it on again. I'll keep cutting, see what we end up with. Please do keep your fingers out of the way. If you're going to use one of these, you don't want to have to go to A&E and try and explain that you cut yourself while trying to make a home for tiny miniature puppets. It's going to be a difficult one to try and explain. And here we've got a nice sized box, which I think is quite nice. Now, I don't think we need the roof. What you're going to want for this, obviously you don't want just two sides. Two sides is going to be too flimsy. It's not going to hold itself up. You could use two sides with a support, but I think you're better just using a more self-contained box. Now we definitely don't need all of these walls. I'm going to cut this top one off and see what that looks like. Like a dark hole. Ooh, nice and lit up. Like you could use it self-contained, but I think it's just gonna be a nightmare trying to get light into it. You're gonna have much less of a problem with this. You can have light sort of aiming over the top and lighting it as per a normal set for humans. Now we just need to go and decorate it. So I'm gonna try and get some supplies in and we'll see what we can do. So I'm just about to paint this, but the problem is we've got a little bit of a gap in this cardboard. So with the remainder of the cardboard from the box, I have cut out another piece to just slot in. So now we have a nice smooth interior to the box to paint, which is just going to look much nicer when we sort it all out. I think I do need to stick that with some glue. So I'm just going to go and stick that in now and then we're going to get painting. Hey, so my box is all stuck together and ready to go. I think it looks much better with that extra bit of cardboard in the back. It was in like a few seconds work and yeah, it looks a lot better and a lot smoother. So we're just going to paint this now. There are a few other options you can use, so I'll go through those in a bit, but for now we're just going to paint this. Now what I've got here is some leftover emulsion. You can use anything you want really. Acrylic paint would work quite well, or like I say, emulsion. I've just got like a small bit. I'm sure everyone else is the same. You buy a can of paint and you always end up with like a few centimetres left in the bottom. And what are you supposed to do with that? I hoard it is what I do. Hoard it and then you end up with a load of tins in your cupboard that just seem to sit there until the end of time. So yeah, we're kind of making use of that. I am using a matte paint here. I would make sure you use matte with anything you're doing. Anything high gloss is just going to create a lot of shine and be just a general nuisance when you're trying to film stuff. So yeah, go with the matte stuff. So I'll get paint and then we'll go through the other options you've got. Also making sure I've got a nice board underneath it so I don't also paint the table, because that is not what I need. And there we are with the first coat on. It looks a lot brighter and fun already. I think it's going to need a second coat. There is quite a bit of like streaking in this. I think just because it's quite dark coloured cardboard. So yeah, I'll leave that to set overnight and I'll put on another coat tomorrow and see what it looks like then. So I mentioned before that while painting is one of the ways to decorate your set, you do have other options. So we're going to look here at the set I used for my little Christmas animation. So here I've actually used fabric, which I think looks quite cute. So a few things to note if you are going to use fabric. It does tend to buckle up and it's not the easiest thing to fit to it. I've had to use a lot of clips to make it look okay here. If you're going to use a patterned fabric, I would really make sure to use quite a small pattern like I've done here. Anything larger is going to look a bit crazy in here, I think. If you used, for instance, a large polka dot that looked fine on you, I mean, imagine if there's a big blob there all over, it's just going to look a bit mad, I think. But hey, if that's what you want to do, go for it. I'm not here to stop you. I'm just, you know, letting you know the options. So yeah, that's an option with fabric. Most fabrics are quite matte. I think felt's quite a good one. It really seems to absorb the light rather than reflecting it, but you can use any sort of scraps you've got. I wouldn't use anything that's particularly shiny. As with all things in animation, shiny things are just a bit of a nightmare because they reflect the light. So I wouldn't use anything like, I don't know, a leather or something. I don't really know why you'd want to line a room with leather, but I mean, if that's your vibe, you know, go for it. I'm not here to stop you. You just might have a problem with your lighting. I did actually remember watching, this is a useless fact for you. I recently watched the new Chicken Run film, Dawn of the Nugget. Great watch. So do check that out if you want to watch some animation. Apparently, they dusted the characters in icing sugar because they were having problems with the shininess of the figures reflecting light and causing problems with the camera. So yeah, dust them in icing sugar. How exciting, and a good way to use all the icing sugar that is no doubt drying out at the back of your cupboard. But yeah, I don't think we're going to be dusting anything with icing sugar today. Another good option, especially after Christmas, is paper, wrapping paper. Some like festive paper. Probably an odd choice to decorate a room in, but some people love Christmas. There are people there's someone in a street near me that has a Christmas tree up all year round. I mean, it's an out there choice, isn't it? But I mean, they're not having anyone, are they? You know, just live your life how you want to live it. Just, yeah, go for it, loves. So yeah, but with paper, I would make sure to, again, use a matte one. Something like this isn't really going to cause any interference. Meanwhile, shameless self-plug, my book has quite a shiny surface, so you can see the light is just causing utter chaos. So if you used a shiny surface like that, yeah, it's gonna be a bit mental. So yeah, you're gonna want to use a matte paper. Now I know sometimes you might be thinking, why am I having to put all this effort in? It's so difficult just to make a set. I know it's so difficult and it's so time consuming to make all the miniatures. But if you spend all this time doing this and then you get to the point of filming and everything is not working, the light's reflecting off everything, you've got things that the paper's falling off the wall or something. If you don't put in the effort at this stage, you are going to want to scream when you get animating. So it's worth putting in the extra effort and the extra research to make sure everything's right at this stage, because it will pay off in the long run, and you won't end up just sat sort of screaming into the void, which, I mean, sometimes it's just what happens, isn't it? It's a difficult world. I'm just going to go and put another coat of paint on the walls, and then we'll get onto the flooring options for the little miniature room. So we've got our box all painted now. I think it's actually 3 coats of paint on this, but I think it looks good. You can't see the wood through it, apart from a couple of tiny bits of the texture at the back, but there's not a whole lot I can do about that. So now we just need to move on to the flooring. Now there are a few options available to you with the flooring. You could, well obviously you can't leave it quite like this because I've made a bit of a mess of it. You could just leave it brown. Obviously if you were shooting something where you didn't see the floor and you were only seeing sort of the top half of the puppets, you might be able to make that work, but you're probably best trying to do something, otherwise you're just going to end up having to do it later, I think. You could paint it, that would work fine, but there are some other options that you can put on the floor. I, for instance, have got some leftover lino that I think might work quite well as a flooring option, but I think it probably has more of a bathroom kitchen vibe. I mean, you wouldn't really lino your front room, would you? I mean, possibly you do. I mean, do let me know if you do. I'm just intrigued if anyone's out there who's doing that. But I think we'll save this in case we decide to do a kitchen and or bathroom at some point. The other option, which I have actually used before, is felt. Now, as I said before, felt's a very good fabric to use on things because it's quite absorbing of light. It won't cause you any problems with reflections. It also does have a kind of slightly carpet-esque vibe in that it's quite fluffy and soft, but it doesn't have the depth of a piece of carpet. A normal piece of carpet, if for instance you'd been carpeting your house and had a bit of a chunk left over, is normally going to be a bit deep and it's going to look a bit strange in something like this. Perhaps if you had more of a sort of thinner carpet, like some of them carpet tiles you can get, like, or even yeah, I don't know, just a thinner carpet might work. But today we're going to use some felt, so I'm going to cut this out and see what we can do. A bit of glue later and the carpet is all in place, so now we just need to get on to decorating it with a few ornaments and bits of furniture, etc. So let's get going with that. So I was wondering what to put on the walls of my little miniature house, and I thought, well, what better place to start than looking at my actual walls. So as you can see, I have a lot of pictures on the walls. I very much embrace the kind of patchwork picture type look on my walls. Now, I don't think we want anything quite this chaotic in the room. I think it's gonna be too much work to do, but I certainly think pictures are a good place to start. So let's get making some little pictures. So here I am sat at my desk and we're just gonna make some little paintings, or at least try to. So a while back I started doing these little doodly paintings which I think are quite cute, where I used a watercolour wash and then doodled over them with some ink. Let's see, I think there's some more in here somewhere. Yeah, like this one. I think they look quite cute. I think they're going to be quite easy to replicate on a smaller scale as well, because realism isn't really my forte. I mean, reality generally isn't really my thing, if you hadn't realised already. So yeah, we're going to try and make some of these on a smaller scale. So aside from my paper here, I've just got a paintbrush and some watercolours, which have been around for quite some time, and some water. Finally finding a use for the goo food pots, because dear Lord, do we have a lot of them in the cupboard. So I'm just going to try doing some basic washes and trying to fade some colours into each other. And there we are. I think we've got some quite fun jazzy patterns there. I'm just going to leave that to dry now. Obviously we can't put any ink on moments, it'll kind of a right mess. So yeah, we'll leave that to dry, and then once it's dried I'll come back and do the ink work on it. So here we've got the watercolour that I did yesterday, which is now all dry, and I think that's quite a cool effect. It almost has a bit of a spacey vibe. And now I've just got, it's just a regular kind of ink type pen. Then we're just going to do some doodling. And here is our finished picture. Obviously this is too big to go on a wall. It would look like some sort of massive museum type piece, which I think might be a bit crazy in someone's front room. So I'm just going to cut this up and then we're going to use these smaller pieces. And there we have some slightly more logical sized paintings. So we just need to get these framed up now. Now before I do that, I just want to run through some other options that you've got. So here's a little sunset I've drawn. You could do landscapes. I mean, whatever you like doing, whatever sort of art your thing. You could use some very small photographs. You get a small child to do a little sketch for you. I actually drew that. I'm actually a Bachelor of Arts, would you believe? Yeah, still paying off that student loan. Greetings cards are also a really good one. You can cut out little pictures from them, so they would also look pretty cute. So yeah, a few options available to you there. Do whatever you want, depending on your skill set and what materials you've got available to you. And we'll move on to framing now. Hey, so we've got our little pictures all ready to go. Now you could just put these on the wall straight as they are. That would be fine. I do have posters and things just straight on my wall, but you can frame them. So I'm going to show you this extra option. I think it just makes things look a bit more polished, which, I mean, you're putting in all this effort, you may as well just put in a bit more. Why not? Yeah, I'm going to use some balsa wood. Now this is quite cheap and easy to find on eBay and in craft shops. Also, it's quite easy to work with. You can just use a craft knife. You're not having to get like the saw out and things like that. So I'm going to use that today. So what we need is a cutting board, a craft knife, a ruler, a piece of balsa wood, the picture we're going to frame, and a pencil. And there we have got our little frame, and just check that our picture fits. Yay! So I just need to stick that in place, and then we're ready to get it mounted up on the wall. Now I do also have the bit that came out of the middle of the frame, and I don't want to waste that. So I think what I'm going to do is actually cut one of the bits of painting that I did that's a bit bigger than the frame. If I cut that down so it's smaller than the frame, and then we can stick that on. So yeah, I'll get them stuck into the frames, and then we can get decorating the wall with them. And here they are in the frames and on the walls. I think this looks really cute, although the walls do still look slightly sparse. I'm going to make some more pictures and get the walls fully decorated, and I'll be back with you soon. So I've got some more paintings in here now, and I think it looks a lot better. I think that looks really cute. I think it looks almost like a sort of minimalist art gallery type thing. So you could use it for something like that, but I'm going to use it as a living room for the time being at least. I wasn't sure which of my sofas to use in this. I was considering using this one with the sofa cover, but I just think it's a bit too jazzy and doesn't really fit with the vibe. I think this sofa would fit in more of a sort of old lady type vibe of a room. I can't judge. I have a chair that looks quite similar to this, and I'm 36. But I think this white sofa fits more with the kind of vibe of the room. So yeah, we're just gonna get a little puppet in here just to trial it out and see if he fits well in. Yeah, I think that works quite well. I was gonna say he looks quite happy. Unfortunately, I don't really know what I did when I was making his mouth. It doesn't look happy ever. He just seems to have a little bit of a frown. Maybe he's just having a bad time, or maybe, much like myself, he has resting bitch face. Who knows? You might have noticed that I've left this wall blank. Now the reason I've done that is because sometimes when I've made sets, I have decided to lean furniture up against a wall, so perhaps a cupboard or something, because you wouldn't really have that tree standing in the middle of your room unless you enjoy walking into things. It doesn't matter where things are, I'll walk into them anyway. Yeah, so I've left this space just in case I decide to put some extra furniture in later down the line. But for now, I think that's a pretty good set. I think that works. I think that's cute. I'm not actually sure what I'm going to film in this for the time being. This is mainly just some practice of set building and doing some new techniques, but I think it works quite well. It is also quite a good beginner type set because this cardboard is really easily accessible. You're not having to spend a lot on materials if you're just using it for practice. In the next video, I'm going to make a set using wood, which is a bit more advanced and obviously a bit more expensive than using the cardboard. It's something I've not done before. I've used wood to make sort of bases of sets and things, but I've never made a full set using just wood. So that's going to be really exciting to have a go at. Exciting or painful if I injure my fingers, who knows. Stay tuned and I'll keep you updated about that. Hope you're all having fun animating yourself. Let me know in the comments below what you're up to, and I will see you again really soon. Bye.